The human named Leo stood on the rocky ridge with the last glow of the setting, suns painting the sky in bands of violet and amber. He had wandered farther than he intended after his survey. Shuttle malfunctioned and crashed on the outskirts of the strange world. The air tasted metallic and sharp, and the ground trembled with distant echoes of unknown creatures. The planet had no name in his charts, but it had already shown him that it was far from an empty frontier. He pressed a hand against his helmet and checked his readings again, though he knew by now that no rescue beacon was transmitting. He would only have himself to rely on. He moved down the slope toward the faint glimmer of water he had spotted earlier. His boots scraped across a rough patch of red stone that crumbled beneath his steps. When he finally reached the shallow stream, he bent low to examine the surface and saw that the water shimmered with tiny particles that refracted the light like shattered crystals. As he dipped a sensor into the flow, a soft vibration stirred the air behind him. He stood still and waited, because instinct told him he was no longer alone. A shadow fell across the water. He turned slowly and stared up at the tall alien woman who towered over him. Her dark armor plates gleamed with the colors of the sunset, and her braided hair hung over one shoulder like a coil of midnight. Her eyes were bright silver and shaped like the crescent of a new moon. She held a long spear with a blade that hummed with pale energy. Her stance was unwavering, and her expression fierce and ready. Leo raised his hands to show he carried no weapon. She tilted her head as if slightly puzzled by his calm demeanor. He tried to speak, but the translator in his suit sputtered with static. She spoke first in a language that flowed like grinding stone and whispering wind. The translator struggled to catch up and only managed to produce a few fragmented meanings. She was asking why he had entered her territory and why he stood so boldly in front of her. He took a breath and said that he had crash-landed and meant no harm. She stepped closer and sniffed the air as if verifying his words. The movement allowed him to see the fine craftsmanship of her armor and the power in her muscular frame. She looked like a warrior carved from a living sculpture. Something slipped past his cautious thoughts, and he said one sentence he should not have said aloud. He told her she had a nice butt. The translator repeated the remark clearly. She blinked. Her silver eyes widened. For a moment, her entire posture shifted. A faint color bloomed across her cheeks, subtle but unmistakable. Her grip on the spear faltered for half a heartbeat. She looked away as if the words struck her faster than any blade could. Then she straightened again with the stiff resolve of someone desperately trying to hide the unexpected reaction. She stepped forward and tapped the blunt end of her spear against his chest plate. She declared that any outsider who dared speak so boldly would be taken to her command camp. The translator made it sound like an official proclamation, but the tone of her voice carried a strange tension. Leo saw that she was flustered, though she tried to mask it under warrior discipline. She ordered him to walk ahead of her. He obeyed because he had no choice, but also because he sensed that she was not truly hostile. She moved with steady grace, but her steps were heavier than before, as if she was forcing herself to maintain a strong posture. He followed the narrow path she indicated. The trees around them rose like twisted spirals of obsidian bark and glowing moss. Strange insects danced in arcs of blue light behind the leaves. The world felt ancient and primal. The walk was long, but he studied her movements and her manner. She would glance at him from time to time, then snap her gaze away quickly whenever he met her eyes. He realized she was still thinking about what he had said. He wondered what the cultural meaning of such a remark might be among her people. Perhaps it was an insult. Perhaps a compliment. Perhaps something far deeper. They reached a natural archway made of stone fused with glowing mineral veins. Beyond it lay her camp. Tall tents reinforced with bone frames. Fires burning with blue flame. Warriors clad in similar armor gathered around training circles where they practiced with spears and blades. Their eyes followed Leo with suspicion and curiosity. The fierce woman walked ahead and signaled to them that he was under her protection. They stepped back respectfully, though none looked pleased. She brought him to the largest tent in the center. Inside, the walls were decorated with banners depicting claw-like symbols. She told him her name. It was simple and sharp, a single syllable that the translator rendered as Rala. She watched him closely, as if expecting him to misuse it. He repeated it carefully. Her stern expression softened, though only slightly. Rala told him that she was a commander among her people, and that this region was a sacred training ground. She asked again why he had come. He explained his mission and the crash. She listened while standing tall, with arms crossed. Her eyes traced the scars on his suit and the scratches on his gloves. When he finished, she nodded and said he would remain under her watch until she verified his claims. She said the council would decide whether he would be allowed to return to his people or remain under her tribe's control. Leo asked if he was a prisoner. She shook her head and said he was a captive, not a prisoner. The difference mattered to her culture. A captive was responsible for his conduct and could earn trust. A prisoner was someone who had already lost all honor. He found the distinction interesting. She also said she would personally ensure his safety, because it was her right to guard someone she had taken captive. He sat on a woven mat as she removed her spear and set it beside the tent entrance. She knelt across from him and studied him with those bright silver eyes. He noticed again that faint blush still lingered beneath her skin. She asked why he made the comment earlier. He chuckled nervously and said that humans sometimes speak without thinking when they are nervous. She narrowed her eyes at him and said that warriors of her people did not lie within the privacy of the command tent. He admitted truthfully that he had meant it as a compliment. She blinked again. Confusion flickered across her face, then gave way to an emotion he could not name. She looked away and fiddled with a clasp on her armor. She asked if human compliments were always so bold. He said it depended on the person and the situation. She gave a quiet hum of contemplation. Outside the tent, the night rose like a curtain of shimmering darkness. Strange beasts growled in the distance, but the camp remained illuminated by the blue flames. Rala summoned a bowl of warm grain and strange fruit. She insisted that Leo eat. He thanked her. She watched him intently as he tried each piece. She seemed relieved when he showed no discomfort. He wondered if she was worried that the food would be harmful. He sensed that she was more protective of him than she admitted. Later, she guided him out to sit beside one of the glowing fires. Warriors glanced at him, but none challenged him. They respected Rala too much to test her authority. She stood beside him with her arms crossed, watching the night for threats. He sensed a hidden warmth beneath her stern exterior. He asked her about her tribe and her training. Her voice softened as she explained their traditions. Each warrior honed strength, honor, and discipline. Each member of her tribe bore the responsibility to protect their lands and maintain ancient codes. She had risen through ranks through trials that tested her mind and body. He admired her determination. She noticed the sincerity in his gaze and turned away quickly, though her cheeks brightened again. When the night deepened, she ordered him back into her tent. She said it was safer inside and that she would sleep near the entrance to guard against predators. He thanked her and said she did not need to go to such effort. She replied that she would not allow anything to harm someone she had taken captive. He respected her devotion, though he sensed another reason underneath her insistence. As he rested on the mat, he listened to the faint hum of the blue flames outside. Rala sat near the tent opening, polishing her spear with methodical precision. Her silhouette glowed against the backdrop of the night. He watched her quietly and wondered how someone could be both fierce and bashful at the same time. she noticed his gaze and asked if he found her appearance strange. He shook his head and said she carried herself with strength and beauty. She froze mid-motion. The cloth slipped from her hand. She turned slowly and stared at him with eyes wide. She asked why he continued to say such things. He answered honestly that he admired her and meant every word. She looked unsure of herself for the first time. She rose and walked over to him. She knelt beside him and looked into his eyes with an expression caught between challenge and vulnerability. She said that no outsider had ever spoken to her this way. She asked if humans always spoke truths that might unsettle a warrior. He told her that honesty was a sign of respect in many human cultures. She considered this silently. She ran her fingers over the edge of her spear shaft as if grounding herself. She said that his words made her feel something she could not explain, something she had not felt during countless battles. She seemed almost embarrassed by her admission. He told her he appreciated her bravery, both in battle and in expression. Her eyes softened. She rose again, but moved her resting mat slightly closer to his. She pretended it was for tactical reasons. He did not question her explanation. Days passed. Each day Rala questioned him and Ve.